Hey, what's going on? Welcome back to WIGI, also known as Why I Got In. I'm your host, Scott Wind, and we're here to give you another great episode where we interview creatives and talk to them about their career, what they're into, and how they found themselves on this creative path. So today, my guest is a writer, entrepreneur, and she's also a coach. She works with the Black Girl Museum in Colorado and has a number of really interesting blogs and outlets that she works for. Take a moment, take a deep breath, and help me welcome Miss Keisha Marie. Well, hello.
Hey, hey,
How are you doing today?
I'm doing well. How about yourself?
I'm good. Thank you so much for joining us.
Yes, thank you for having me. I'm super excited.
Yeah. So tell us why you got into being a writer and like how that transitioned into you doing the monetize your influence.
Yeah, I've been writing my whole life. Most people, the things that we're passionate about starts in our childhood. So I always liked creating like fictional stories, and I loved creative writing in school, and I did plays and things like that all throughout like my elementary, middle school, high school years. So when I went into college with a focus on communication, like I wanted to be the next Soledad O'Brien. That was
Okay.
my dream. And just circumstances kind of took me away from writing, took me away from focusing on it, even to the point where I remember telling somebody that I was a bad writer or that I wasn't good at it. Like imposter syndrome was that big, right? Like it was overwhelming me that much that I didn't do it. But I realized that I wanted to be a blogger. Like I wanted to talk about natural hair. So I started kind of writing about that, like writing blog posts, writing like long form captions for my Instagram. And yeah, that's pretty much, I guess, where it started, just from wanting to blog and like share my story and sharing my perspective. So yeah, I started off with that, with blogging back in 2016, and I had a few publications that I had published on, like X on the Pole, Black Mom's Blog. There was a local publication here in Denver, Denver.com. So that was kind of how I started writing, like as far as a trade. And then just personally, I recently started doing poetry. Um, Me and my friend were doing a creative project, and we found out about like a spoken word poetry night that was going on, and we're like, oh well, let's just go check it out. And I didn't want to pay to get in. And I love being on stage. I was like, you know what, I'm just gonna sign up. I have a poem that's in my phone, I'll just sign up and go on stage. And I did, and it kind of turned into like a new passion. So yeah.
Got a lot in there. So
There's a lot.
I love to start with that question because it gives us so many places to go. And the first thing I want to do is rewind all the way back to the beginning and like tell us about like where you grew up and what the environment was like and what the culture was in your area.
Yeah, so I'm from Denver, Colorado. I was born and raised here. Um, Very white. Um, you probably see it. People say, "Oh, it's a cow town." That is, it's not a cow town, but it's like kind of hippie.
Mhm.
Um, some areas are very conservative, and then some areas you have like the liberal white folks who will smile in your face, but they really don't fuck with you. You know. So it was a lot of that. And like my mom is from South Central. My dad, he's from North Carolina, but he was not, I didn't grow up with him. Kind of typical, unfortunately, typical Black girl story. Grew up in a single parent household. Um, I was the oldest, so I was an only child for the first 9 years of my life. So,
We're almost alike.
huh?
We're almost alike.
Yeah, yes. It's like you feel like you were basically an only child because those formative years you're by yourself. So I had imaginary friends. I remember me and my friends in high school, or in elementary school. In fourth grade, there was I don't know if you saw the Disney original movie Xenon. Girl of the.
Yeah, I do remember Xenon. That was a whole moment.
It was such a moment, right?
That was
So
like when Disney still, they were really making like solid movies for like a hot like 3-4 years that were like really good
it
transitional.
was amazing content, right? Like amazing stuff for us as kids, like just flexing our imagination, you know? And so me and my friends, we decided that we wanted to have her life, but we took it a step further. So we made ourselves alien characters that lived on these alternate planets that were like similar to those on Xenon. So that was like, I don't know, that kind of gives you a glimpse of the kind of child that I was. I had a very vivid, colorful imagination. And my mom, she nurtured that. Like she bought me several books when I was growing up, made sure that I was on top of it with school, let me do, leadership activities. So I was told I was shy because there were some people that I wouldn't necessarily interact with. So I think I kind of adopted that mindset, but I always kind of defeated that as well because I've always wanted to be on the stage. Like I've always wanted to perform. I wanted to do choir. I wanted to be a cheerleader. Like I wanted to do all of that from a very young age. So yeah, that's like kind of my background. And then being in Denver, a lot of times I was the only Black girl in like my classrooms. Some areas are either very heavily white or very heavily Hispanic. So my elementary school, I was the only Black girl with a bunch of white kids. And then middle school and high school, it was very like Latino, very large Latino population. And it was just, I don't know, trying to identify as like an authentic Black woman being from Colorado where your Blackness is questioned so much, like from the outside world looking in. I depended on like pop culture and, my mom's experience being from California just to kind of get that authentic Black, experience because I didn't have it with my friends and with the people that were around me necessarily. So yeah, I guess that's it in a nutshell. I feel like there's so much more, but that sums it up.
Oh, that's really great input because it gives our viewers, our audience, sort of an understanding of um, what life is like or how your point of view is. A lot of times, as an example, I'm from Atlanta,
Okay.
so the experience I had growing up was entirely different.
Yeah,
And when we're looking at or thinking about what paths we're going to choose or how do we make those decisions of what things are important to our voice or what things that we want to hear more of out of our voice. These are the things that we should maybe take a moment to look back at and sort of assess, and it gives us an opportunity to really, think cognitively about what our message is and what we want to say. So,
for sure.
and it's also interesting, like hearing that you're an only child and the imagination. I'm almost positive we are not the only two children who were 9, 10 years old before we got siblings. So
Right.
for all those parents and all those only children out there, you know, whether you're an adult only child now or you just didn't get that connection, hearing and seeing that there are other people like you and how they've chosen to use those skills, challenges, and skill sets is like a way that you kind of find your support group. Find that those people that help make you or help encourage you to be the best you can be. Um,
Definitely. You
so
feel that where you can, right? Either it's with your friends at school through activities that you do at school. Because even like, I bet you can agree, like even having siblings at 9 or 10, they don't automatically become your friends, right? Like there's somebody that you have to take care of. Like you have to, it's almost like an added responsibility when you get siblings when you're that old.
yeah,
So
I was a de facto parent, so I didn't even have a real relationship with my siblings until
Yeah.
probably about 3 or 4 years ago is when that actually genuinely started. Um, so since you were by yourself and you played with toys and had this huge imagination, you mentioned Xenon, but like tell me about like what shows you were watching, what toys you were playing with, and how they were like really influencing that part of your world.
Yeah, so shows, I loved Disney, like all the Disney original shows, Lizzie McGuire, Smart Guy. I don't know if that was Disney Channel, but Smart
No,
Guy.
Smart Guy wasn't. That was Fox WB, I think.
Yeah, one of the, oh my, Smart Guy was my show. Sister, Sister, All for Us. Is that All for One or All for Us? Those UPN shows. You remember that UPN lineup that they had on Monday? Like, those were my shows. Like, that was what I lived on. And like all your classic Black movies, because my mom was younger. She was 19 when she had me, so she was like, you know, kind of a cool young mom.
Right.
So watch like a lot of the movies with her. So Friday, Love Jones, what other like these movies? I mean, I kid movies too.
Yeah,
But
no, but definitely when you have young parents, like you're at the movie they want to see. So I wanted to see Aladdin, they wanted to see Set It Off. We were at Set It Off.
yes, exactly. Exactly. Like you'll get Aladdin at Blockbuster on that trip to Blockbuster, right? You remember that?
Yes.
Those
Those
are
Friday nights were amazing.
fun.
That's so funny. So
Yeah.
those are some of the TV shows. What about like the toys? What were you engaging with?
I had Barbies. It's so funny you said that. I was really trying to think. I don't really remember playing with like a whole lot of toys. Like I had dolls and stuff. Like I've always been fascinated with hair. Like figuring out how to do their hair. So my mom, she used to put she used to do these ponytails, like the wraparound ponytails, and it was a very detailed process. Okay, so she would get the ponytail, get some spray, some gel, some rollers, and roller set the ponytail, put it in the microwave for it to set, and then take it out. The curls would be so bomb. So I was like, I want to do this for my doll. So I had the little Barbie head and I put the rollers in. I had it laid out all nice, put her in the microwave, and
That's it.
I don't know how long it lasted. I don't know how long it was in there, but let's just say Barbie was smoking.
Man.
Like her neck was ruined. Her hair was like just about burnt off. Like it was a fail.
Barbie was looking like Purple Haze.
I wanted to try it out. So I would say that that's the most profound memory, I guess, as far as like toys that I had was like just that kind of stuff. Oh, and Gigapet. I had a Gigapet.
Gigapets, that was a whole moment.
That was definitely a moment. Like everybody trying to take care of their little Giga kids. And
Yeah.
yes.
Gigapets and yo-yos were like the same year. You had to have like a yo-yo.
Yep.
I mean, it's interesting. Like when you think about, again, like you think about the things that you watch, the toys, you don't really comprehend what impact that's having on you and how much you carry that with you later in life. So it's interesting that was your fond memory, but you know, later on you decided that you want to do a hair blog. So it's like those passions that reoccur. You know, you may not specifically have found that as a passion as your child, but you realize that you've always had a love for it. So it's great to kind of have those reflective moments.
Definitely.
Tell me about your books, because being a writer, you gotta like books or comics or something. What was the book choice?
Man, so many books. The ones that like stand out most vividly is Goosebumps. Goosebumps were my favorite. Metamorphs.
Metamorphs.
And
Animorph. Yeah.
Animorphs, the Babysitters Club series. I loved those books. Mary Kate and Ashley, they had like a mystery book series as well that I was like obsessed with.
I remember that. I didn't read those, but I remember that era.
They were good. They were really, really good, like page turners. Um, there's another book that I cannot think of. It was like Ernestine and something. Something in Ernestine. I'm gonna find it. It was a book about two Black girls and they were friends, and it taught such a lesson about like sisterhood and like the cattiness that develops in us from such a young age.
Mhm.
And I don't know. I'm so mad I can't think of that damn book. It's something Ernestine. I remember that because Ernestine was the girl that was like not the prettiest one, the one that was kind of struggling to fit in. And they talked about like sorority life, and I'm an AKA, so that kind of inspired, even that part of my life. Even though I can't remember the damn book name,
Yeah.
but that was like one of my favorites. And then I started reading like young adult literature very early. So my mom read Omar Tyree. She read a lot of his books. So I found Sweet St. Louis. I want to say I was in middle school maybe when I found that book, and I fell in love. So like Omar Tyree, Eric Jerome Dickey, who else? Tracy Brown is like my favorite. Like, so that hood lit, but
Yeah.
the difference with her and like a lot of those authors, her character development is impeccable. Like the way that she writes a character and like makes you relate to the people. Like I'm still grieving about characters that died in her books that I read years ago. So, yeah.
That's interesting.
Mhm.
I mean, just picking up on what styles you like. So how did that influence your writing as you started to take that more seriously?
That's a hard question because I think I don't want to say that I wanted to mimic the styles that I saw, but I cared a lot about detail and like creating that same feeling that I got from the books that I love to read. So when I find a book that I really enjoy, I can read it in a day, if not less than that, if it's really engaging. And I think when I decided that I wanted to write, I wanted my writing to have that same effect. Like I really wanted to catch people's attention and like create characters that people can really relate to and understand. So I would say that it made me very hard on myself rather than inspiring me to do better. And it was a choice. Like I recognize it now, like instead of looking at that as dang, I'm never going to be able to write those people.
Mm-hmm.
Um, now I've kind of shifted that mindset. So, okay, this is why I like what I do. This is what made them stand out to me. And these are like some techniques that I can use or whatever.
I mean, they do say mimicry is the best flattery, and when I went through art school, we spent a lot of time mimicking the masters. So you kind of have to some degree, go through that process of emulation before you sort of find your own style and your own
Yeah.
way to use those tools. So I think that's a good way to flex the muscle. Show me the gun. I know you got the gun over there. I see it. Ooh, 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 ooh.
No, I'm a little embarrassed because these quarantine snacks, they're starting to get to me a little bit, but it's okay. It's okay. I got a Zumba certification, so
Hey.
I'm gonna get snatched again.
First off, all the quarantine snacks are warranted.
Huh?
I said all the quarantine snacks are warranted.
Okay, you said it, so whatever. But
Like
these
every
days be saying otherwise.
gotta live your life. You be healthy. You do what you can to keep yourself healthy. This is speaking to everyone, but you can't let little things keep you or deter you from being happy. You know, enjoying little moments. Like,
That's
fuck
true.
that, eat those extra 2 cookies. You
Don't
know.
stack up, right?
Now on the other side of that, make sure you keep the other side of your diet right, and saying that you're 5 pounds over or 5 pounds under or whatever the professionals say, that's a body image thing, but we should all really be more comfortable just being ourselves and enjoying ourselves. And that's my
Yeah.
other show, Love Thy Body, but we'll get on that line another
Oh,
day at another time.
yeah. Love my body. A very novel and very important concept, right?
Very. I found it as an artist, um, the dichotomies that we work in entertainment when we're making stories, we're selling stories, we're working on shows, we're doing articles, we're making clickbait, all this type of stuff. It's very damaging, or it can be damaging, or it can be very one-sided in how we look at ourselves, our representation of things. And
Mm-hmm.
I think it's important as media, people that work in the media, as artists, especially in a time like this, where everyone can sit still, everyone has an opportunity to digest and self-reflect, to really push a message that we have to care more about ourselves. We have to care more about our bodies. We have to care more about what's important, our crafts, our passions, and not so much like this exterior, hypey social shit. The real interactions are the fact that we're able to genuinely connect and see one another and appreciate one another for whom we are.
Mm-hmm. That's very true. That's very true. Okay. I'm gonna be here.
Yeah. Kind of to yourself.
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah. But as we're going through and you're thinking about your writing style, and you're coming to this point where you're like, shit, I gotta go to college. What do I want to go to college for? Where do I want to go to college? And what the hell am I gonna do with my life? Go. What's that conversation?
Man, so this was 12 years ago now for me. So I knew, as far as like my writing style and going to college, I'm trying to think of when I decided what I wanted to do. I didn't switch to communication until my sophomore year of college. I started off as a business major. So when I wanted to go, I knew I wanted to be an entrepreneur. That's the thing. I always knew I wanted to have a business of some sort. I wanted to do a nonprofit performing arts center. So I wasn't even thinking about writing. I wasn't thinking about any of that. I was just thinking about, like, I'm going to put this business together. I'm going to have these programs for kids, after school programs. I'm going to get the money for that. And I've got to figure out how to do that by going to business school. I didn't think about writing until I started transitioning to natural. So it was like literally doing research on Google, trying to figure out, like, how can I get my hair curly? And it feels so ignorant to say this now in 2020, right? But I literally did a Google search, how do I get my hair curly? Not really realizing, like, well, you got to let the relaxer grow out. Like, you can't perm your hair. You can't do that. So it was just doing the Google search and like doing research that even had me considering writing or anything in that capacity as like a career. And I still didn't think about me writing. I just thought about me going on camera and, being like Mary Jane and, talking my shit. It was sometime around that time frame, I think. Like either when I was just starting blogging, something. But I don't know, as far as like me picking my writing style or thinking about what my writing style would be, literally that's not a conversation I've started having until like now, maybe, like what I want to talk about and what I want my focus to be. Like, I don't even know if I I don't think I've like had a definitive, I don't think I have a definitive answer to that. Like what it even is. Like, I
And,
just like sometimes.
and that's totally okay. I mean, like, as a creative, it's what things aren't always the same, and where you may start in your career is definitely not where you end in your career. So, um, being comfortable and being open about where you are and understanding that can sometimes be more beneficial than trying to say, "Oh, well, I'm just this," because it puts you in a place that maybe you don't want to be.
Yeah. I want to speak on that because I said I wanted to be a social media strategist, right? Like, I think I just took it out of my bio. I just took it out of my bio because I'm decent. No, I'm not decent. I'm good at it. Like, I'm good at social media. I understand it. I understand how to create content. I understand how to read analytics, how to come up with a plan to get people engaged. Like, I get it, but I'm burnt out from it. Like, I've been doing it, and I think I've been doing it for the wrong reasons, and that's how I got burnt out. And I had a couple of bad clients, honestly. And it's not they were bad because of them as people. It just wasn't a good fit for what I wanted to do with that skill set. So I think, just like you said, being okay with maybe being in transition and recognizing that you don't necessarily know exactly what it is you're focusing on at the moment, but like being transparent with the people you're working with. Like, hey, this is something that I'm processing right now. It's a skill set that I have, but I'm not going to go out and actively seek social media clients anymore. Like, I literally just decided that maybe a week ago. Like, I don't want to do this anymore. Like, I know that's where the money could be, but let me write your newsletter. Like, let me ghostwrite a blog article for you. Like, let me do something like that. But I don't want to do social media strategy anymore. So, yeah.
That is such an important thought to have. And one of the biggest struggles I saw in my career um, was these transition points when
Mm-hmm.
you're maybe in one position and you get pigeonholed there, or you're good at it, so that's what people want to call you for, but that's not really what you want to do. Um,
Mm-hmm.
Figuring out like what's the best move or how to make a move so that you're essentially happy in what you want to do, because
Yeah.
you know being a strategist versus being a writer, you're still technically writing things and you're still assessing, but it's using a different part of your brain, or it's using a different set of skills, even though they're adjacent. So a lot of people don't particularly have the knowledge to understand those nuances. And that's why I'm happy that I get to speak with someone like you, because we get to explore all those, show people how you maybe are in a field that you like, but this specific thing isn't working for you
Right.
anymore. And burnout is real. You can burn out on any job or any career, no matter how much you love it or hate it or want to be a part of
Yep. And I love social media. Like, that's the thing. I'll never not like run an account, like I'll never not get excited about putting a post up and seeing what people say to it, how people react to it. Because I like creating conversations. Like, I like creating content that gets a conversation going. I like looking at other people's pages and being able to tell them, like, hey, you should do this, or talking to people about their vision and saying, like, maybe you should try XYZ with your brand. But as far as like just making that my day-to-day like job, it's just not something that I have a desire to do, And a lot of people, what I will say, that are looking for social media strategists, they want a social media manager, but they don't have a budget for it, And social media management, like, people think it's just liking pictures, posting pictures. Like, that shit's no joke. Like, managing an account is literally a full-time job. Like, if you're trying to do it and get results, it's a full-time job. So when you have a client who wants to have you help them with strategy, you pay X amount to get the strategy, and they don't implement it because they're not taking the time to manage their account to apply the strategy that you put in place. It's exhausting.
it. Mm-hmm.
It's exhausting. It's a job in itself. Did you get the content? Did you do this? Did you do that? you know? So I think that's a big part for us as creatives too, is vetting your clients to see if it's a good fit. Like, are you willing to hold somebody's hand that, you know, is only paying you for strategy but needs a little bit more help? You know, are you willing to have those hard conversations? Like, all right, I'll do this, but I have to charge you more. Like, yeah, I feel like I'm on a tangent, but I wanted to make that point.
That's I don't even know where to start because I wouldn't know where to stop. Like that is such a real issue when it comes to any aspect of this freelance, especially the way the digital world is. People don't really understand the concept of what time and what skill sets are and how that equates to the success and the monetization and the amount of hours that it takes to prolifically understand specific aspects of this um, craft, be it social media, be it post-production, be it event planning and execution. I mean, there's just a lot that goes into that, be it hours and I mean physical expenses. And um, you know, I love being able to have these conversations and show that because
Yeah.
it's the worst moment when you get this client that you start off and you can have a great relationship with, but they just don't get it.
Yes.
And
Oh,
if you don't give it,
sad. It's so
not
sad.
that you don't give it, is they don't get it.
Yes.
So I think that's a hard conversation, especially for new, young, and transitioning entrepreneurs and
Mhm.
freelancers whom are trying to get their business off the ground, who, especially if they're coming out of college, you don't really know a lot of shit yet. So you don't want to charge the highest rates. But, you know, at the same time, you're being asked to remodel and add a add-on to someone's house,
Yeah.
you know, for the same $15, you know. So it's like
Yeah.
uh, I really want to give people that education so that they are a little bit more conscious of what it takes to be the content creators that give this stuff that they are consuming massively right now as we're quarantined and
Yeah.
stuck. You know,
Yeah.
people don't really take the uh, initiative to understand and appreciate entertainment until entertainment is the only thing that they need.
Yes. That, and you know, I'm glad that we're talking, because I was curious about how the entertainment industry is going to be affected by this. Like, because I imagine there's no productions happening right now, right?
Oh,
Like,
it shut
huh?
down. It shut down.
Yeah.
No,
So
that's dead. So I mean, literally the week the whole Corona thing started, I had like 3 TV shows lined up. I work in sports. I work in entertainment television. Literally, like the whole calendar just wiped away. So
so from a creative standpoint, like, what's going to happen, like, for shows that are scheduled to start being recorded, like this entertainment, like you said, that we're looking to consume, we're at a standstill of even being able to create, you know?
so what's interesting is the way the cycles work. There are a lot of things that were previously shot that are in post now. So
Okay.
maybe the lineup of content that is scheduled to have already come out, that was already in post production, will still exist and come through maybe a little later, maybe a little sooner because people are at home on the server, you know, whatever. But
Mhm.
as far as like new shows being shot, that's going to be very difficult until they get a real handle on the situation.
Yeah. I wonder what that's even going to look like with social distancing, like sex scenes and all of that.
I mean, there's that side of it, but you think even on the behind the scenes, you know, there's a small city of people that
Yeah.
show. So when I do a sporting event or a TV show or something like that, there's at minimum 30 to 70 people at minimum on those shows. That's not talking about the extras. That's not talking about the actors. That's just straight crew.
Wow.
And you think about like equipment comes from New York and LA and all over the country. People travel because this actor's from here and there. And so you have all these factors of equipment coming from God knows where, people coming from God knows where. It's just, a nest,
Crazy.
a nest of bombs waiting to blow up, essentially, if it's not handled properly. And that's why even with Governor Kemp wanting to open up Atlanta and starting to do that type of thing is a bit dangerous, because we haven't really fully seen what's going to happen with this, and Atlanta being the busiest airport in the world.
Yeah.
You start really sending full-on traffic through there again, and you start really, sending people into the city and being in these close quarters like that. That's a powder keg.
Yeah. And I was so confused because, like, I feel like not even 2 weeks ago, they were saying, I was hearing speculation that we could be shut down for up to 18 months because they don't have a vaccine. I know that's a far-fetched thing, but first it went from, we don't know when we're going to contain this and we're just going to be on lockdown and blah, blah, blah. They shut the kids' schools down for the whole year. And then a week later, oh, we're going to reopen society next week. Like, what?
Well,
I don't
understand. You have to understand that there's two types of situations going on. There's one that's the public safety and public health, and then there's one that is the business of the economy, the business of America. So when you think about when one whom is in control or has the ability to influence economy has the ability to push people whom otherwise would literally be sitting at home on unemployment, which is costing them money, or putting people back to work in a dangerous situation. That allows you to maybe restart your economy, but it also really puts people in a stressful situation, because now those same people whom are going back to work, which, let's be honest, they're people who have to work, will no longer be offered unemployment.
Yeah.
That nature, because you're refusing to work. It's not that work is no longer available to you. So you have this whole part of the population who won't be able to receive benefits, will be forced into going back into the labor force, and then forced to be in risky situations, or
crazy
to go without.
Yeah. Like, so either put your family at risk of exposing them to a deadly virus, or put yourself at risk of starving and not being able to provide for your family at all. So there's that. But I mean, not everybody has an entrepreneurial, creative mindset, but this is a great time to start thinking about ways to not be dependent on a paycheck. Like, I think that's really it. Jobs do not give a fuck. Like, companies don't give a fuck about their employees. I think we've seen that time and time again, and COVID is definitely showing that with a lot of big companies. Even with the whole paycheck protection plan, with them giving away the majority of that funding to restaurants like Ruth's Chris. Like, seriously, that's considered a small business that needed a bailout? Like, shit's crazy. It is, yeah, it's crazy. So I don't know. Yeah.
So, I mean, we've actually talked a little bit about like the burnout and how that's gotten us to burnout. I mean, that's basically a full economic type situation. So on this moment, why don't we take a burnout break and let's talk to our sponsor.